Okay, so kicking off, you guys all know right here. I don't have to tell you power demand and energy. I'm just going to briefly tell you a little bit about what we do, so our venture fund, so that you guys know contextually why we're doing this. And then I'm going to give the mic over to Vladimir because he is incredible, and I know you guys want to hear from him. He impresses me, so don't be flattered too much by me. Okay, so next step. Okay. Okay, so we're launching a venture fund here in Houston. We're launching 3 funds. The first fund, 7 million, seed stage fund. We're also launching a venture fund focused on AI and energy. So we primarily focus and invest on in AI and energy startups focused on consistent, efficient, cost-effective power for all through de-risked early stage investment. Our secondary focus is AI and oil and gas because we live in Houston, and why wouldn't we focus on that, right? So I am the managing director. Jacob back there is a technical advisor on the team. We also have our general partner, which is Decal Group. Salvatore, he's our venture scout. He sits in Rome. Cheryl sits in San Francisco. She is an AI sales advisor. And then Chief, who isn't here, but also lives here, and he's a technical advisor as well. Okay. So why we focus on power? Well, Texas specifically, Texas has the fastest growing major grid, and it's ever growing. Obviously, I know you guys probably pay attention to the news, but since 2021, the power demand has increased 23%. We've also seen record peaks during the winter season with the power demand increasing to over 80,000 megawatts. The load complexity. So I'm sure you guys are noticing that the data centers, Texas is just ambitious all around, right? But they decided, oh, we're going to have the most data centers of any other state, and they're bringing it in. Seems like you're trying to do it all at once, and that's adding a lot of load complexity on top of the industrial companies that were already. And then AI, because of course we're going to use it, right? Everyone is, but that's adding more. And then we've got pressing risk with this load demand and load complexity. So at those winter peaks that I mentioned, we were actually running into the red, which means we were minutes away from rolling power outages several times. But no one knew except for ERCOT and those manning the system. But what that could mean is millions of dollars for industrial companies per hour that they're burning. That means hospitals, if they were rolling outages, hospitals have safety issues. These data centers would lose that data. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I read an article today that Amazon had to shut down for overheating one of their data centers. And the stock market was affected, lost a lot of money. So that is kind of the things that are happening. So what we do is we focus on, let me move this out of the way. So we focus on AI-driven solutions that unlock hidden capacity and reliability. Okay. Next. Okay. So that's why we focus on Texas, but also the U.S. is focusing in this area quite a bit. So the government is in this race, along with every other country, for AI. They're in a race to be the winners in AI. And maybe a couple of years ago, I think it was around 2021, they figured out we can't actually win this race if our grid can't handle it. So they started investing money into the power grid and this ancient infrastructure that we have to try and fix it. The problem is AI is moving faster than they're able to fix it. So we're doing everything in real time. But looking at the numbers, the U.S. Office of Energy Dominance Financing, very long. They are actually investing loans into the private sector, and it's $289 billion that they've made available for private sector companies to access capital for improving the power grid. Already, Entergy and CPS Energy have gotten some of those loans and started implementing things here in Texas, in San Antonio, and in the southeast of Texas, so here, right? And that's $84 billion that they've invested already. The Office of Electricity Strategic Plan launched a strategic plan a couple of months ago, which included $1.9 billion in grants that they were allocating to accelerating electric system innovation and modernization, and bringing it closer to home for our thesis. Also in March, the DOE launched a program called the Genesis Mission, which allocated $293 million to transforming science and energy with AI. So large focus on modernizing power grid with that. So lots of focus. I just read it and I get excited because I think, oh, confirmation, we're actually in the right space at the right time. So it makes sense. Market size, it's growing. So last year, the AI and energy market size was $9.85 billion. In 2035, it's projected to grow to $174 billion. That is very large. It's a very large amount. So as a fund, we actually focus on 1% of that growth. So we focus on capturing 181 because it's just safe to bet on one in a fluctuating market. Okay. Segment size, segment breakdown. So in the AI and energy space, these are the segments that we look at, that we pay attention to because they're growing and becoming very dominant. So renewables management, with that increase in demand, they are trying to provide other alternative power sources. You guys know renewables is one of them. That is actually the fastest growing segment within the AI and energy space. So growing really, really quickly. The next fastest growing one would be demand forecasting. It's because of this, and Vladimir, you're online, he knows about this because he actually developed a startup that's doing some demand forecasting. So that's growing. If you can predict the demand before it happens, you can mitigate it, right? So that's a big one. AI-enabled supply chain is one that's specifically mentioned in the strategic plan that I told you guys about. Our secondary focus is oil and gas, so we also look at midstream analytics. We look at smart grid management. That segment is already large, so it's going to just keep growing. Predictive maintenance, of course, we're looking at that. That technology will continue to improve. Refinery optimization, I see those things as kind of tying in to fuel being able to get to the grid, so all connected. Combustion efficiency, outage prediction. So those rolling outages, we can predict when they'll happen, then we'll be able to hopefully stop them, right? And then grid optimization as well. So that is the segments. Growing market within that, from a technology standpoint, deep learning, generative AI, computer vision, robotics, even some hardware paired with AI. So we look at those things. Okay, we're a fund, so we also look at how quickly these startups could be acquired or by other companies. So this particular market actually has several strategic acquire categories. It'd be utility companies. So they'd be looking to acquire AI capabilities to modernize their grid operations, energy technology platforms. They want to embed AI into their existing product suites. Big tech guys, they're building the big data centers. So they want products that can optimize those. And then, of course, the big oil and gas guys and infrastructure funds and private equity, because they would want to roll up their those AI technologies into their assets. Lots of signals. I won't go through all of those, but Schneider Electric just acquired AutoGrid. That's one example of them acquiring companies. Siemens acquired BrainBox AI. So lots happening. We think it's a great market. How we actually will support our portfolio startups is one, through funding. So we'll write the first and second checks, early stage startups, managed scaling. So we'll provide recruitment. We'll recruit some founders to help our teams. The startup teams will surround them with an early stage advisory board, also milestone investments just to help kind of grow with them. Partner support. So improving. These guys are going to be one of our software partners. And we're also looking for computing costs, people that can help, our companies that can help us with that. And research, validation, also office space for the startups. And the other way that we support is, of course, introductions. So we're going to introduce our startups to customers, investors, anything we can to help them continue to grow. All right. Last piece that I have until Vladimir is partners. So we're looking for investors, startups, corporations, universities, because they make great partners for us. Also, advisors. So if any of you guys want to advise a startup, please reach out. And also service providers. So we're connected. If you guys would like to connect with me, please do so. I'm going to let Vladimir go ahead and speak, and I'm going to take a seat in the audience. Vladimir, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for the amazing intro. And let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see things clearly, my friends?
Almost. There it is.
Okay, perfect. Let me just set up one more thing on my side so I can see you clearly. Okay. So, today we will be talking about the state of the electron industry in the US. And I specifically use the term electron industry because electricity is the #1 form of transporting energy, and it encompasses all forms of energy, including the solar you see in the photo, but also the oil and gas. That is sometimes not talked about enough on the electricity grid. Okay. You can. I was hoping. I was anticipating maybe a larger audience, which would make communication a bit harder. So I prepared these polls. But before we dive in, I really want to know more about you guys. So either scan the QR code on the top right, or go to the URL on the top left and enter what do you do for a living or what do you work professionally, so I know more about you. If you don't want to do this, please feel free to talk because it's more of an intimate setting this time.
Can you zoom in a little
on the QR code?
On the QR code?
Let me see what I can do.
Just copy and paste.
Yeah, let me see.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Helps me, it doesn't help anybody else.
Did anyone respond? Oh, here we go. Angel, business, technology strategist. That's good. Programming. Uh, the programming person is gonna like this session. Um, no one from the energy background.
Yes.
Okay. That's great. Fair. Okay. No, that's awesome to know. Okay, and throughout the session today, since it's a more of an intimate session between us guys, I feel free to interrupt and ask, especially at the end of a slide, because we can have a short discussion about it and move on, rather than having a full Q&A at the end. But I don't mind also a Q&A at the end. Okay. So moving on, here's what you should expect from me. Today, you're going to expect a clear and holistic narrative over the US energy and electron industry. You're going to get my best charts, graphs, and sources that I've compiled through my readings, through my scrolling on X, through actually me generating those graphics. So I hope you like them, and I'll send you the presentation at the end. Kiara, you'll share it with them. You have their emails. So no need to take photos throughout. You're gonna get the actual thing. And I think and the third thing you'll expect, other than a clear holistic narrative on the problem, an exploratory peek on what are the solutions in the space. We have a sense of what the solutions should be, but we don't know because we're still trying them. Okay, so we're not gonna delve really deep into there, but we're gonna know what's the landscape like. Okay, any questions here? Okay, so to me, this is one of the most accurate quotes that you will ever come across to explain what the grid actually is and the energy industry overall. So the energy industry is a multi-trillion-dollar per year industry. It's highly capitalized. It's a commodity business. It has very intricate and exquisite supply chains, and all of society uses it. So unlike other industries, whereby some parts of society use it, others don't, whereby it is a luxury, not a commodity. We learned that the energy industry it has a really unique and hard set of constraints, and it formed an inertia and a bureaucracy that's really hard to break through. That's why we don't see so many startups innovating in the energy industry, even though we should expect to have more startups innovating in the energy industry. And this is one of the best quotes. So I really wanted to start with it for you to understand the complexity of what we're dealing with. Us talking about data centers and what the utilities should do is something, but actually implementing it is probably 3 or 4 or 5 orders of magnitude harder than we would even perceive implementing it, because all levels of society need it. It has a geopolitical aspect to it, and it's a highly capitalized commodity industry. So, uh, I love this map. I don't know if it shows a clear resolution for you guys, but this is the map of the uh, transmission transmission in the US, transmission cables in the US. You can see how complex it is, and even though it is one grid, we have so many entities regulating it, controlling it, owning it, profiting it from it, and it's a national infrastructure. And in my attempt to understand this level of complexity, I created this graphic, which I have a full Substack article written about. Okay, this graphic, sorry, tries to explain to us how the industry is connected to each other. Because you hear all the time the term regulators, utilities, developers, transmission, distribution, power markets, uh, Department of Energy, FERC, but how do these entities connect with each other? And who's to blame for what? So this slide is my attempt at understanding this first and foremost for myself, then to explain it to others. I'm gonna go over it quickly, and if you have questions, please throw them at me while we're at it. So the Congress enacts laws which the Department of Energy should apply since they are laws. You hear sometimes the term EIA or Energy Information Administration, and this entity only collects data. And the Congress also, when it issues laws, the FERC, which is a federal regulatory agency that regulates the grid. Sorry.
Could we zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, because we can't see a thing.
Fair. See what I'm gonna do. Give me a second. I'm gonna go directly to the Substack itself. Thank you for pointing it out. One second. Here we go. Is it?
It's
Maybe
getting
much
small.
fast. Yeah. I'm saving the image. This is the issue with webinars. You never know the screens. The screen of the on the other side, how large or small it is. Okay. Can you see better? Oh, I am not sharing. My bad. Yes, I'm sharing.
Yeah.
Is it clear now? Awesome. So the Congress enact laws. The Department of Energy needs to abide by these laws, but the Department of Energy has almost no say on what's happening on the grid. It can direct national labs to do certain R&D. The Department of Energy can talk to FERC, but FERC is a regulatory body that regulates the technical side of the grid, and they are the real authority in what's happening. Now, FERC usually regulates two sets of entities. You can think of them. There are the regional reliability councils that provide reliability standards for the electricity markets, and the electricity markets are ERCOT, CAISO, MISO, SPP, ISO, New York ISO, PGM. These are electricity markets that follow reliability standards that are set originally by FERC and specified in more detail by reliability councils. Now, this is for power markets within the US. Now, there are other states that do not have power markets. For example, Arizona, Alaska, Arkansas, Florida. These are states that do not have power markets. So in these states specifically, what happens is that each state will have a state regulator. And this state regulator will basically take the orders given to them by FERC and regulate the utilities within the state. So we have 7 power markets and we have 48 state regulators across the US. Now, municipal co-ops, like in my case in Arizona, there's a municipal co-op called SRP. It's a co-op. It's not a municipal one. It's called SRP, Salt River Project. These are not regulated by any federal laws. So the markets over here and the state regulators only act on investor-owned utilities. They don't act on municipal or co-op boards-based utilities. The board is what governs the utility in those cases. So it's a very complex industry and it's a very complex market. And if we go one layer deeper, we know that any grid has a generation, transmission, and distribution. And certain utilities are vertically integrated, especially on the right side over here, when there is no market. But when there is a market, they are divided. So the generation is different than transmission, different than distribution. And FERC only has regulatory oversight over the generation and the transmission side, but not on the distribution. And the distribution is in certain cases regulated by municipalities, which makes it even more complex. And there are many players. So you can have this map and go over it. And there's a link for the Substack if you want to delve deeper into it. But this is just a quick overview. And if you have any questions, let me know before we delve deeper into other things within the energy industry. Okay. Can you see the presentation now?
Yes.
Okay. So the era of stagnation in the US ended between early 2000s and early 2020s. And the US electricity market, as you can see on this graph, was basically almost stagnant. So the whole industry was using efficiency gains not to build more power plants. And demand was really increasing, but then we were doing, the use of electricity was increasing, but we were finding more efficient ways to use electricity, better refrigerators, better tools for industry, offshoring of manufacturing, among other things. And what happened is we saw this stagnation and in the units of energy we consume per year as a nation. And mind you, this is the biggest nation and the largest economy on earth. What happened around the early 2020s that caused this increase and this energy crisis? And suddenly my profession as an electrical engineer became sexy again. Because 10 years ago, nobody cared about electrical engineers and utilities. The one you always keep hearing about is data centers. But what coincided with it is the onshoring of manufacturing and electrification of EVs. And we're going to talk about each one of these within the slides to come. Data centers is, of course, the biggest story. Nobody's saying otherwise, but EVs is also a very big load that's coming on the grid that people are not comprehending the scale of it. And the reason it doesn't get as much attention is because it is a distributed load. It's not a centralized load, and we're going to talk about this. Now, by year 2030, we're expected to add 290 terawatt hours, and just for scale, and for understanding how much is this. This is 7% of what the largest economy on earth is consuming. And this is not any economy. This is the US economy. It's the largest economy on earth. They're gonna add 7% by year 2030. This is a crazy, crazy amount of energy being consumed. Okay. Now let's delve into data centers a little. What is a data center? It's not something that's new to us. Data centers is basically a factory of compute, math, a factory of bits that are being multiplied and calculated. Now, what people don't understand about data centers, because all of the images of data centers are basically these racks that you see, and these racks that you see over here, this is what you see in images and in the media. These racks are half the story. They are the compute. They consume around 60% of the total energy of a data center. But what's actually happening is and the important equipment are the other parts within the data center, which is the power infrastructure. Regardless of the grid over here, there's a lot of power infrastructure within the data center. Now, you can see, of course, heaters and coolers for the data centers. You can see backup diesel generators and sometimes gas generators. You can see backup batteries that are smoothening the load and acting as a backup. And you don't always hear about it, but there's always a transformer directly connected to the data center. So a big part of the data center story is power equipment story. And we're going to talk about each one of those equipment within the slides to come. Now, what is so unusual about data centers relative to other loads, relative to our laptops, which in the 1990s, computers were an electrical issue across the US in 1970s. It's not something that's new to us. In the 1970s, energy started because computers were drawing so much energy. But computers were a bit more distributed than they are right now. Incandescent lamps were an energy crisis issue across the US. Home heaters were an energy issue, but they were distributed. The main unique characteristics of data centers is power concentration. In certain cases, each one of these racks consumes around 100 megawatt. So they're very geographically constrained and concentrated. And that's something very important to keep in mind when we talk about data centers. Okay, another question for you guys. What is the difference between an AI data center and a traditional data center? Because data centers were something that we used to have even before ChatGPT happened. Well, they weren't a headline story.
Could we zoom in again to the QR code?
Zoom in even more. So it was like this, and I zoomed in like this. It's not showing well enough. Let me
It's
see.
not working for me.
Okay, fair. I'll figure out something. The only issue, this won't allow me to show anything. Okay. If you want, can you see the URL over here? The highlighted URL?
Well, I got the QR code. I don't know if anyone else needs it.
Okay. Calculations, storage. Okay. Did everybody answer? Okay, storage, cold, continuous calculations. So unfortunately, this time we didn't hit the answer, but in a way, it's really good because that means we're gonna learn something out of it. I think what's really different uh, in AI data centers than why am I not able to? Okay, sorry, my laptop is giving me. Wait for the program to respond. My laptop is telling me, and it's gonna go bananas. Just 1 second. It doesn't do this. This is my advanced laptop, my gaming one. Wait. Okay, here we go. Okay, sorry, the video ran by itself. So the thing that I wanted to show you over here is the following, that what's really different between, how do you stop the video? Okay. What's really different between traditional data centers and AI data centers is the way that compute happens. Traditional data centers run on CPUs. So we're gonna see how calculations happen and focus over here on the execution time to do 600 tasks. So I made this visual for you guys. So this is the CPU. Sorry. So this is the CPU. It took 2500 milliseconds, so 2.5 seconds. And the GPU took 71 milliseconds to do the same calculation. So the actual difference between AI data centers and traditional data centers is that traditional data centers are CPU based, so they do calculations in a serial way in their core. Whereas data centers use GPUs, which made NVIDIA rich, and they run parallel compute. Now, parallel compute makes things a lot faster. It's very AI native at its core because of the transformer architecture of AI, but also it has all of the heat problems, which is causing us to put all of this infrastructure to cool the data centers, and that's why we have an energy problem. And we're seeing over here how the server capacity of AI is increasing from traditional, which is the light blue, to AI data centers, and how we're expecting and so what this graph is telling us that by 2030 we will install as much data centers as we installed for everything we ever used in the past 100 years. This is the story that you need to take from this slide. That by 2030 we will have as much compute for data centers, for AI, sorry, as we added for the entirety of humanity combined. So basically what we're doing, 80 years of building data centers and computers, we compressed that in 5 years. Okay. Moving on to the next slide, and to talk about that, data centers already matter even before the whole AI boom happened. So historically, around 2018, they were 1.9% of the total US energy demand. Right before ChatGPT happened, it was 4.4% of US total demand. And we're expected to add 580 terawatts to this 176 in these years. So the previous slide was telling us how much compute we are going to get. And this slide is telling us how much energy we will consume. And the range would be 7 to 12% of the total energy consumption in the US. And I really want you to take a minute to understand how large this is in the largest economy on earth. We keep on forgetting this fact, but no country consumes energy more than the US except China globally. So the US is the biggest economy, and 12% of its energy expenditure might go to data centers. So moving on, we are gonna also play another poll and another game. Which country besides the US you think has the highest demand for data centers?
Besides the US.
Besides the US. I gave you the answer in the previous slide, right? The US.
China.
No, South America. And
I'm waiting for answers. Okay. People are walking to the screen. US, Mexico.
I think you already gave the answer.
No. I saw somebody put Mexico. No, I think it will be very unexpected for you guys.
Oh, it is China.
Is it green dot meant China?
Okay.
In Brazil.
Let me hear your answers for the people that didn't use the QR code. I want to hear your answers.
I think we can shout out the answers.
Yeah.
India.
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 That was my bad. Mhm.
South America.
South America. The rest. Guy in the back.
I'm gonna go with Australia.
Australia. Okay, in front of him.
I voted China. That's my dot on the on the screen.
Okay.
Give
Fair.
us a little minute.
So the second country after the US is actually Germany.
Wow. Wow.
Okay. So the US is the hottest country when it comes to data center investments globally. By far, nobody comes close to the US. Okay. In terms of actual capacity and the rate of adding new capacity. China is really good. They're doing really good for themselves relative to where they were. But actually, Germany and Greater Britain are doing really good. And they also are having the same conversations as we do. The reason I added this slide and went through this question is to tell you that the energy problem we're facing is not only a US problem. It is becoming an international problem. The skill sets that you learn from understanding the power industry in the US and the data center demand side of it is something of a transferable skill that you can take with you to other markets. So what you're learning today is not only US specific, and you can use it elsewhere. Okay. I want you also to understand the size and the scope of those data centers. I want you to focus first of all on the graphic on the map to the right. You can see that some data centers are as big as the New York Manhattan area, or one size, 1/5 the size. You see this Meta Hyperion data center, it's bigger than Central Park. OpenAI's Stargate is also really big, the one being built right now in Texas. So these are extremely huge, huge constructions that's being happening, and they consume a lot of energy. And it was so crazy to me initially when I started hearing the term gigawatt. So all of our conversations in energy were a megawatt, and whoever achieved a megawatt of selling power or a 50 megawatt development project for solar, it was a crazy number. It was mind-boggling. We were really excited to hear. But the fact that we hear gigawatts being thrown in the media like this is crazy. And just for you to understand that 1 gigawatt can power 750 American homes. The 852 gigawatts that is being talked about probably can power twice the population of the US. And the American citizen is one of the highest consumers of energy on earth. So let this land that 1 gigawatt is one nuclear power plant. It's an extremely huge energy unit relative to everything before the AI era. So this is important to comprehend and understand when we have these conversations. Now, any questions about data centers before we hop to EVs?
Yeah, quick question
Go
on
ahead.
reliability. What kind of reliability does data center require? 3 nines, 4 nines, 5 nines?
Data centers, they require 5.9 reliabilities, but 5.9 reliability. But there is a big clash that's currently happening that we will talk about, and I actually added it to the newsletter that Kiera sent on Thursday. That's happening right now. It is basically utilities telling data centers that we cannot provide 5.9 reliability. We can provide 3 nines reliability, and you should bring your own flexibility into the game and your own assets into the game to provide the portion that we cannot provide.
Yeah.
Kiera mentioned that we're going to come back to your comment. Hold it just for 1 second.
Okay.
Kiera mentioned earlier that there was a storm and there was a data center shutdown. Each GPU that's being shut down for 10 minutes is almost $10 lost. So you can imagine in a full-on data center that each hour of electricity loss is millions, if not tens of millions of dollars being lost. A full day of data center not operating is potentially 70, 80, or 100 million lost. So what's happening right now is that they want to use these GPUs to the maximum ability with 100% availability all the time, and the only way to do that is to provide this much electricity. But utilities have been trying to figure out the reliability game for the past century, and we still have outages. So there is no way that data centers could expect from utilities to provide this level of reliability because they couldn't provide it to their customers, which were us before data centers. So what's going to happen is that the utility is going to promise a 3.9 reliability, and the rest the data center should provide for itself. And to your point. You were commenting earlier.
No, I'm just trying to say that with that 4 nines, 5 nines reliability is isolated to one data center. Now, what's the movement behind actually having a network of data centers. So again, it's not, if you do in isolation, one data center at a time, yeah, fine. 4 nines, 3 nines, 5 nines. But data centers need to move away from isolation versus a network and provide the reliability from a network perspective.
I think you are right. It's being figured out. I don't know if you heard about the NVIDIA and Span deal that happened. So Span is a company that's trying to install data centers at home. Basically, not data centers, small compute units at home coupled with batteries, and to try to coordinate all of these distributed data centers. And this is the term that's being circulated right now. Actually, I am personally working with the Rockefeller Foundation on installing distributed data centers for mini grids for electrification. So it is something that we're studying also in international markets, and I'm personally working on it. Something else I'm personally working on is with a stealth startup that I can mention their name, whereby we're talking to schools and we're talking to to certain pieces of real estate that have space, whereby we're going to expand their solar capacity and also bring with it the data center, the distributed data center compute. So basically, they will have two ways to increase their revenue: one from more solar, and the other is from a load that's consuming energy on their land, which is a distributed data center. So it's being studied right now for domestic market, US. Nobody has figured it out yet. That's what I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
Nobody
Thank
found
you.
a business model that's gonna work, but it is something that's being actively considered by players across the board. I can assure you that. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Moving on to EVs. I love this map because it shows us an aspect of EVs that very few people know about, and that is EV adoption is not a homogeneous process. EV adoption is very heterogeneous. It's very geographical. Okay, as you can see, there are areas around California, Bay Area that have very high percentage adoption of EVs. Also over here in Colorado, certain counties within the eastern states, but overall, EV adoption is not a homogeneous process, and this would cause grid stresses that are also not homogeneous. So if we need to replace certain transformers and substations on the grid, we probably should start with the areas that EVs are going to stress the most, which are these very dark green counties. But this is actually not happening right now. And this is a very big issue that we need to understand about EV adoption. It stresses the grid differently than a data center would, because a data center is a single point and you can know where this point is happening. But in EVs, nobody is understanding where the load is. There are high level studies like these on the county level, but it's very rare that you can find out very granular studies that would actually help utilities pinpoint which parts of the infrastructure we need to upgrade first. And this is one of my papers that's currently in review. I can send it your way when it's done. Another very interesting fact about EVs is that the way they are perceived from the utility is that they are a residential electricity use more than anything else. And we can see them in terms. This is all residential electricity use, and we can see how EV charging is already overcoming a couple of residential use cases in terms of your electricity consumption. And we're expecting for this trend to continue across all of the US until EV charging itself becomes the number one demand driver for any home. And the theory over here, or the take that I want you to think about is all of these EV charging companies, what are they needed for? Because if EVs keep on improving at the rate they are improving in, and the range keeps on expanding above 600 miles per charge, then most of our charging will happen at home. I don't believe there's any one of you that drives more than 600 miles a day. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Houston traffic.
Houston traffic, fair. I can't complain about that, but
That's time, not distance.
Isn't that still on the road, correct?
yeah.
But still
Requires a charge.
So what's gonna happen as mileage on the cars increase is we're gonna see the demand for public chargers decrease, because similar to you don't go to work and charge your phone. You charge your phone when you come back home before you sleep. And in a way, something like this is gonna happen in the future. Now, there's big questions about autonomous EVs and how fast robotaxis and Waymos are gonna proliferate. But assuming the current scenario that they're proliferating very slowly, EV charging will become the top one residential load, even more than cooling by 2050. So that's also a very interesting fact that you should keep while discussing EV load and how it's affecting the grid. Another point about EVs is also that we're installing chargers, but chargers are being used faster than we are installing them. This is shown by an average utilization of fast chargers. So the rate of installing chargers is increasing, but the rate of using fast chargers is faster. So what we're seeing is that chargers are being used. The usage of chargers is increasing, as you can see in this graph. I found it very interesting when I came across it. It kind of debunks the theory I mentioned earlier, but this is playing in the short term. Longer term, there's the theory I mentioned. So short term fast chargers are a thing. Longer term, they might not be. So this is also something to think about. And the reason I added it is for you to hear both sides of the story, and when you get the slides, to have both graphics for you, because there are two schools of thought, there are two echo chambers that are talking two different things across all of the EV industry. And similar to data centers, I wanted to show you the global aspect of EVs too, and not only the US. On the right side, you can see how Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Singapore are moving faster in EV adoption than the United States, Japan, and UK. So what's happening is it is a story of leapfrogging. So instead of someone replacing their internal combustion engine with a EV, what's happening is they're directly buying EVs. They're leapfrogging the whole internal combustion part of the story. And we can see also on the left another interesting figure, which is showing you the percentage of EV sales per country. And you can see how Norway is dominating China is dominating in a number of cars sold, and you can see we're here in the US, and you can see the story changed from 2019, where the US was actually among the leading nations, and now we are not. And China went from here to here. Norway went from here to here. So the story of EVs is also happening internationally as a load, and it's also important to understand. Before I go to manufacturing and onshoring of manufacturing, any questions about EVs? Okay, I think people are interested in data centers more. About manufacturing. A very interesting study was done by EIA that shows on the right side, sorry, how usage of electricity is tied to manufacturing output. You can see this in the graph over here, okay? And that is very interesting. And this is telling us that without electricity, we cannot expect to have a real manufacturing base in the US. So it is on us, the people that work in the electricity industry, to provide enough electricity because this will increase the manufacturing output that we do in the US and make us, again, the top manufacturer in the world. So this is fact number one. And fact number two is that even though data centers is expected to add this many gigawatt hours between 2023 and 2038 in terms of growth, manufacturing is almost half of that. But nobody's talking about manufacturing. We're all talking about data centers, data centers, data centers. Rightly so, but there is a big story about manufacturing that's happening. And as a resident of Arizona, I can tell you how TSMC and Intel are our biggest consumers of electricity. And their factories here.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you have another graph that would segment out the supply chain articles that are being manufactured in the industrial space for data centers versus just the overall amalgamation of all industrial manufacturing?
I do not, but I can look up something for you.
I was just curious because I'm wondering there's a bit of overlap there is what I'm thinking between those two lines on your graph.
Of course.
Not that it skews the numbers, it's just that, yeah, it's just, I think like an event diagram, you would say, okay, of all the industrial manufacturing that exists in the US, at least like a good, stratosphere of it is actually going to power the data centers.
That is very true. That is very true because we see it in the blue collar jobs that are building the data centers and the chips factories that are consuming energy to create the chips that the data centers use. So you're right. I don't know if anybody did work there, but I'm gonna look it up. It's a very interesting question. And thank you for asking it. Another story about onshoring of manufacturing and what's happening, no matter what the media keeps on telling us, is that manufacturing is actually happening, and the ultimate indicator to this is electricity usage of manufacturers, and you can see how the CHIPS Act and the after the Inflation Reduction Act, we started seeing an increase. In the electricity usage in the manufacturing part of the US grid, and this is happening. And another graph over here is showing us in terms of reshoring of US manufacturing jobs, from where are they coming? mostly they're coming from China, then Mexico, then Canada. These are jobs for manufacturing that were abroad, and now we're bringing them back in. So these data points, 2 data points, tell you that onshoring of manufacturing is happening, even though it is not reported as much as data centers are. And over here is a link that shows you all the factories in the US. It's actually vibe coded by a friend of mine on X. So you can go through all the manufacturing capacity that the US has.
Mm.
It's a very interesting website. You can check it out after. It's slowly loading over here, but I can assure you there's a lot of data that you might find practical.
We'll link to that. Yeah.
Okay. Here's a question for you guys. I'm gonna expand the QR, or you can shout your answer. What matters more for grid planning? Annual energy growth or peak demand growth?
Um, I
Kiara?
I said
Kiara
peak
said, okay.
Big demand.
I'm with
Yeah,
you.
peak demand.
Okay. It seems everybody knows the answer to this one. I thought you wouldn't. Okay, so a very important concept for us to understand is like the concept of peak demand versus base load in the US, and this is something that's also underreported in all of the headlines that you see everywhere. Um, uh, Peak load, as shown over here, is usually the maximum amount of energy that we use on a certain instant. Usually, this peak demand happens around the summers or the winters because we increase our electricity consumption to cooling or heating around this time, depending on the city you live in. And usually, there is a base load that's maintained all the time on the grid. Now, this is a low load factor, a low load factor type of load, whereby we have a very high peak for a very short instance of time. We do not love this load. This load will ask us to build extra capacity over here. All of this capacity, we're building it just for this area. Whereas in a high load factor, the peak load and the base load are really close to each other. So what happens is that we have an almost stable form of load. We love this load on the grid. We love, so a nuclear power plant loves to be turned on and to stay stable with no variability. A steam turbine, no matter the source, whether it's gas or whether it's coal, we love that the load factor to be stable at all the times. So that's a very important fact for us to understand. Now, why am I talking about load factor? Is to tell you for us to understand the issues and the bottlenecks that would come on the grid. Okay, so um, the first grid limit is the generation bottleneck that's happening. As you know, the grid is generation, transmission, and distribution. Then we come to the load that's consuming it, and the first limit that's happening in our case is on the generation side. Okay. Friends over here ask me about Grid 8. This is Grid 8's interconnection dashboard, which I built for them. But basically, what you're seeing here is the number of requests per county, okay, for a power plant to interconnect to the grid. So these are people with money. These are people with money that want to interconnect to the grid, but they're waiting on permits. Okay, and we can see this is a national issue happening almost everywhere, except in some smaller counties, which do have very low load. And we can see on in the graph below also how the interconnection queue has been increasing and then exponentially increased in the first 5 years of 2020, and now we have around 1,600 to 1,800 gigawatts of power plants sitting in the queue. So we were talking about how much we need energy. There are people willing to pay to build power plants, but they're waiting on permits. So this is a very big issue that so many startups are trying to solve. Over here you can see more data on how this is broken down. So in terms of generation, the majority of our generation is in gas turbines, and we're gonna see some limits on gas turbines and how we do not have enough gas turbines. We cannot manufacture enough gas turbines for the US. We don't have the factories to manufacture enough gas turbines. We also see that coal power plants that were planned to shut down right now are being turned on again, or they have extended contracts. We're seeing more solar than ever being added, especially in states like Texas. And we're discussing building new nuclear power plants, whether small modular reactors or large scale nuclear power plants. So what's happening is we're going for all power and not one form of power in this case. But even going for all forms of power, we're not providing enough electricity. Just for you to understand the scope of the problems we're facing. Now, the other bottleneck is happening on the transmission. The transmission are basically the high voltage cables that go interstate, intermarket, interutility, and provide electricity. You can see these lines that are in red, and these numbers are millions per 1,000 megawatts that we need to pay to upgrade and build lines across these interconnections. So if you sum these up, we have probably hundreds of billions of dollars that we need to pay to upgrade our grid on the transmission level. And as I mentioned earlier, and I really want to go to that slide specifically.
Sorry, question. Is this upgrade from 138 or 386 or 720? What are we talking about? And these are overhead transmission lines, not buried transmission lines.
Yes, overhead transmission lines. Everything that's considered high voltage. So
Okay.
to your answer, all the above. Anything above 66 kV.
Okay. Thank you.
You're most welcome. You always have the technical questions. I like it. Just 1 second. I want to go back to this slide to emphasize something. That each transmission line that we want to build is basically going through permitting from a couple of these, a couple of these, a couple of these, and a couple of utilities. And you can see how it becomes a really complex bureaucratic problem to build a transmission line. It might not be technically hard. We have the best and most brilliant engineers around the globe, but building the transmission lines is becoming a bigger and bigger problem due to permitting issues. Now, I want to move to the third grid limit, which is happening on the distribution, which everybody is not comprehending because they're so focused on the first two grid limits. A data center usually requires from permitting to actually commissioning, 12 to 24 months. This is the timelines we're seeing. Now, grid interconnections require 36 to 72 months. And you can see now the difference between the two time scales and the friction that might be happening with them. This is tying to the interconnection problem earlier, but there is an aspect to the interconnection that's really important, which is this substation over here, or what we call a transformer. Is everybody familiar with what a transformer is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, there is a slide missing. But I'll add it in the PowerPoint that I'm gonna send to you. But the point of the slide is saying that the cost of a substation today is 4x to 9x what it actually was. So if you were to purchase a transformer or substation, basically in 2018, and you want to purchase it today, it is 4x to 9x the price. In addition to that, it is 2 to 3 years longer timelines for you to get it. So if you order a substation today or a transformer today, it would require for the manufacturer 2 to 3 years to provide you this transformer. And this is the issue with the whole bottleneck that's happening on the transformer side. Any questions? Am I too technical? I'm not seeing your faces. If you're bored or...
No, it's just that it's daunting. But you're not being too technical. It's just, it's really daunting.
Fair. There are solutions, and we're gonna get to the hopeful part of the whole story. Now, who pays for the grid upgrades? This has been a very big debate. Are electricity prices increasing because of data centers? Were they increasing before data centers? What's happening? How do you solve this for this situation? If a data center wants to build in a certain community, does the community pay for the data center upgrades on the grid? What's the story that's happening over here? Now, some people are thinking of frameworks around this solution, and one solution, and this is a PGM figure. Is a PGM executive order that's saying if a generator from the queue over here, is co-located, something co-location or front of the meter can be used interchangeably, front of the meter. If they're on the same side of the transformer, so both of them connect to the same transformer or to the same substation, then we will make them move faster in the interconnection queue. Okay, and there are various ways whereby you can do this. The generator can sell the grid, and the grid sells back to the large load, or the generator can directly sell to the large load and sell the extra to the grid. And this is too technical to dive into, but the general idea is if a generator and a large load live behind the same meter to the utility might consider making them or giving them faster permits. Okay.
So is this only for PJM, or is it also ERCOT and MISO?
For now, the only one I know about that has an actual executive order or policy around this is PGM. I'm sure all of them are considering it.
Okay.
In the utility world, and you can quote me for this, uh, in the utility world, everybody wants to be second. Nobody wants to be first. Nobody wants to be third. Third, you are too late. First, you're taking all the risk. So probably ERCOT and Co are waiting to see what's going to happen in PGM and then decide what they're going to do.
Yeah, but our situation is very different also with ERCOT. So I don't know that ERCOT would actually go anywhere near that direction. I don't know. We'll have to see.
MISO might.
So I'm sorry?
MISO might.
The other one. Yes. Yes, of course. But ERCOT's game is just a very different game.
Yeah, they're an energy-only market, but definitely they're observing what's happening on the interconnection queue. They have the largest interconnection queue, by the way. I can send you also later some data about this. Okay. And the other side of the policies that other than PGM is the concept, hey data center, bring your own power. This is not an executive order. This is more of a framework that was enacted by the White House. We're currently, as an industry, trying to absorb the effects of it. Is it good? Is it bad? Will it harm the residential customer? Are there alternative solutions? What's the cost-benefit analysis there? But so many of these utilities just want to build, and they want the bureaucratic utilities to get out of the way. Okay, now time for solutions. Before we delve into solutions, any questions? Okay. So the solutions are not in any order of importance. They're in the order by which I remembered them. And we can talk or debate to how urgent are some solutions to others. So the first solution is the natural gas solution, or natural gas turbines. Today, 40% of data centers rely on natural gas, which is very proportional to the U.S. electricity overall, which is 40% of the market, as we saw here. 39.9, 40% relies on gas. It is the largest source of any additional supply because, understandably, you can purchase a turbine, you can install it locally, and you can run it. However, we are not creating enough turbines to satisfy the demand we have. There are 3 big companies globally, and they're all US companies: GE Vernova, Siemens Energy, and Mitsubishi Power. As you can see in the comments below over here, Mitsubishi is sold out till 2027. GE Vernova sold out till 2028, and Siemens sold out to 2028, and limited capacities in the years after. So we're already using all the capacity that we can for these very complex turbines. And mind you, these same companies provide the turbines for the airplane industry, for the anyways. So it's constraining also other industries that these companies really need to use the manufacturing capacity to build the gas turbines only for data centers. So it's a really big issue, and you can see the big numbers in terms of gigawatts of energy requested from companies and revenue that they will expect from this gigawatt. So 106 gigawatts.
Quick question. Do you have data on refurbished turbines?
I do not.
Okay.
Now, I can look it up for you and find something.
Because there was a lot of turbines in Europe that was decommissioned, correct? And so a whole bunch of them sitting, waiting to be refurbished, to be used.
You're right. We need to consider how big are they relative to what we actually need, right? Because we're talking over here. So Siemens Energy is expected till 2028 to create 106 gigawatts of energy. And just I want to go back to this slide. Sorry, I keep skipping between slides. I might this slide. So 100 gigawatts. So if 852 gigawatts is double the size of the US, 100 gigawatts is probably like 60 or 70 million American homes. Just for you to understand the amount of comprehended gas turbines. It's huge. Like we throw gigawatts easily, but I don't think the decommissioned European refurbished gas turbines are close to the demand that is required. I think they are already used up. If not by us, then by our European allies. So this is solution number one, and these are the players that are playing over here. And solution number two, something we call firm renewable energy. A firm energy is usually energy that has low variability, so not solar, not wind. The only two considered firm renewable energy that data centers would love would be geothermal and would be SMRs or small modular reactors and all of the nuclear industry, because these are firm in terms of they don't have the intermittency and the variability problem, and they're renewable. And we're seeing a big demand on this. We saw Alphabet or Google acquire two companies and make two deals with two companies that provide geothermal and nuclear. So you can look that up. And the reason I added this chart over here to tell you is over the next years, and I hope you remember me when this happens, you're going to start seeing geothermal increasing really fast as a source of electricity in the US. I probably should have chosen another graph, but yeah. Fair. And renewable energy is expected to add 110 terawatt hours. So going back to the numbers, we said data centers by 2030 are gonna add 290 terawatt hours of energy, and out of this 290, 110 will be provided from renewables if nothing changes till then. So probably a third of the extra demand that we have will be provided from the renewables, and the rest we need to use oil and gas and traditional electricity sources. Now, I added two market maps that I know you won't see, especially for the people in the back, but once you get the presentations, you can look them up. Just for you to see the players, this is the market map of the geothermal industry. It's a very interesting one. It's done by Montauk Capital, one of the most interesting energy also venture firms. I'm sure Kiara, you know of them. And there are a lot of players over here that you should keep your eyes on in terms of these companies. And there's especially a company called Fervo, which I can't see their logo. I don't know where's their logo. I'll look it up. So Fervo is one
at the very top on the right. Fervo.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, okay, good. You have great eyes on them. Yeah, Fervo is a
I
company.
was looking for it too.
Yeah. Fervo is a startup that was very small a couple of years ago, and just recently exploded, and they got so many deals. They're gonna be big in this field. If I got to choose a winner, it would be this one. But there are many others that you should keep your eyes on in terms of geothermal, especially this group of next generation geothermal. because geothermal, and I'm going to go into a segment here, geothermal is passing through its fracking moment, or to make it more relatable, its own chat GPT moment. So the industry discovered a way whereby we can do geothermal in a much more efficient way, similar to how we did fracking in a much more efficient way. We found out about fracking, David Baldwin and co. And the big bet is on this next generation geothermal and how it can become the new firm renewable energy instead of being reliant on imported oil and gas.
Vladimir, we're coming close to the end of the event.
Yeah, yeah, we're towards the end. There are a couple of solutions, and we're reading them. Clean, firm, renewable energy. This is the market map for nuclear. You can also look up the companies if you want to look also. This is an intersection of nuclear and geothermal, and there are a couple of SMRs you should look into that are really cool over here. The third solution for our problem is renewable energy storage, which will provide a lot of the flexibility that's needed. You can see how XAI is using Tesla Megapacks to help out in its XAI data center, Colossus 2. And you can see on the figure on the right how battery storage companies are smoothing the load by removing this peak that we do not like, as I mentioned earlier, especially for turbines and for nuclear reactors. And moving on, this is the market map that I use for battery energy storage. It's done by Clean Edge. It has everyone and everything of value in battery energy storage solutions, especially the ones that are used for data centers. So we're not talking home scale batteries. The fourth solution is the nuclear renaissance that the current administration is really hopeful about. And it can be divided into microreactors and small modular reactors and new form large scale reactors, which are very different than the AP100 that we used to install back in the previous century. There are new designs, safer designs, and easier to implement designs. But the one that everybody's talking about is the small modular reactor, which is the size of a very small building. And it can provide electricity basically for a small city. And over here, I also provided a very interesting market map, which can look out for. I personally know and interacted with the founders of Alo and with the founders of Valar Atomics. These are the two startups, the two only startups that have broken the atom, other than the big commercial companies or utilities. So these are startups less than 1,000 or 500 employees that broke the atom actually, which is very, very interesting to see that they can actually do that. And the fifth solution is flexibility via microgrids. Can you bring your own power, put on your own batteries, and provide the flexibility that we were talking about? You can disconnect from the grid for a couple of hours, then connect back to the grid when electricity is cheaper. Another closely related is load flexibility. One of the leading companies there is called Emerald AI. What they're doing is they're sitting in the middle between ISOs, RTOs, and utilities and data centers. And they're saying, hey, data center, provide behind the meter energy assets, batteries, natural gas, or provide compute flexibility. So when the RTO or ISO calls you to decrease compute, you can decrease compute. When they tell you electricity is cheap, you can increase compute. And the RTO or the ISO or the utility will pay you money for this service. And on to my last slide. This is the a map I created for flexibility companies that I know about. I'm currently only in contact with Emerald AI, but the rest are doing great. They're the most advanced thus far in terms of pilot projects and actually implementing this. Nobody have figured out the business model that would work yet, but pilots are being done. And last but not least is a group of resources that I use. This is not exhaustive. I used other resources. A group of 3 podcasts that I always hear about AI and I think are very interesting and about data centers and power. So feel free to look them up once you get the PowerPoint. And this is my V card. Feel free to scan it, save my contact information, um, and let's connect.
You guys have questions?
I just want to thank you for preparing such a very thorough overview.
You're most welcome.
I like the QR code size on this one.
Okay, noted further.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the gas turbines. What's the barrier to scale there? Is it complex manufacturing processes? Why can't GE reorganize their company and make more?
No, the lead time and the amount of investment capital, because again, right now, Siemens actually going through their pipeline. A lot of people will pay the deposit, but don't follow through.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. So they're not going to build the capacity to fly-by-night type companies who can pay the deposit and not actually secure the delivery.
And I was a GE person at one point, and when the GE portfolio fell apart after selling off the capital, product company, it really hindered the business model for turbines because of exactly what he was just describing. We had a scenario at GE where we could essentially finance our own projects because of the capital business that went away, and then you saw the downfall of the company after that. So the industrial capitalization model really has to be addressed there.
Yeah, and in terms of more recent bottlenecks, there's manufacturing capacity. So a similar bottleneck is currently happening in the world of chips. So we want to build more AI data centers, but TSMC have limited manufacturing capacity, right? And demand is much more than manufacturing capacity. And building chips factories or fabs is a really complex thing to do. Something similar is happening in the gas turbine industry because the same gas turbines that we use for generating power are the ones we use for airplanes or very close ones. So it's also the same number of engineers that have divided attention across both of these industries. And then there's the speculative part, as they said. Will demand follow through?
Yeah.
Will they actually buy?
And in fact, actually, it's all about the data centers and the credit worthiness of the data centers. Because a lot of the data centers that prop up don't have the credit worthiness. Even CoreWeave, correct? I mean, we think CoreWeave is one of the key, but it's whether they can pass on the cost of how much does it take to do this computing to the customers. So who are the customers? It's people like us.
Yeah.
If we can't afford to pay, then the data centers go out of business, and then there goes their credit worthiness. So are we really having through AI, and what exactly is AI being used for?
Yeah. It's
really asking the question.
Yeah, you're really to the point. I remember late 2025, the whole of the VC community and the energy industry was debating whether revenue is gonna come revenue is gonna come for these model companies, so the foundational model companies. And we saw recently with Claude and with OpenAI that revenue is coming, but we haven't yet seen the return of investment on this revenue for other things. So everybody is waiting, is doing a waiting game. So it starts with the AI companies, then the data centers, and then the data centers do the waiting on the gas turbine companies and also on the utilities. So many of the utilities are reluctant to do the upgrades because they don't know if the demand is going to follow through.
You hit the nail on the head.
Remember we were talking earlier? Valia.
Please, I have all the time. I don't know what your time schedule is, but if you want to ask questions.
Yeah, we have Detroit Pistons and Cleveland Cavaliers playing. So sorry.
Yeah, and please connect. And if you have X, follow me on X. If you have a Substack, likewise, I'll follow back. I love to see what you guys are doing too. And did the QR code work, or was there an issue with it?
It worked for me.
Okay.
Yeah, view that. Click on view.
Yeah, and I think this app that I used to do the QR code, you can actually share your contact with me too. So yeah, feel free to send any questions later on about any topic you have. I hope I gave you enough value for your time because you've given me your time, and I hope now you can go with a holistic overview and understanding of what's happening across the industry.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good.
Very good. Appreciate the passion, Vladimir. I think it was great. And if you guys aren't subscribed to the newsletter, he's going to be writing a bunch on my newsletter. So, yeah, he's great. And a few other guys from Texas, too. And also his startup. If you guys heard of Grid 8, he was involved in building the back end of Grid 8.
Oh,
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Grid 8 is a startup of a friend of mine. He's an amazing CEO. They have basically two business verticals. One is long duration energy storage, and the other is software for interconnection. Feel free to look them up too. They're a very interesting company. I partially worked with them throughout last year, and this year I'm going to be focusing on my PhD, and then probably join them or start my own company.
sorry, which battery company were you working with?
Grid 8.
Grid 8, okay. Is that a lithium or lithium ion?
No, it's a long duration energy storage, which is carbon based. So you use two tanks, whereby you pump and pressure carbon from one side to another. It can provide heat and it can provide electricity. And yeah, that's the
What
goal of
TRL
it.
level is it at?
Currently, they have a pilot in India.
Okay.
So I would say TRL level 5, 6, and they're working through commercialization.
Yeah, okay. It's a long way.
Yeah, deep tech and especially long duration energy storage took a real hit around this presidency when it started because funding was cut for so many projects, but it was invested in other projects. So, just to give credits where credit's due, there are many energy projects that are going through that are really great and are long due, like SMRs. But technologies like long duration energy storage took a tough hit. But they'll come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Go forward. Anything else?
Thank you.
You're
I
most
think-
welcome.
I think it's the end of the day, everyone's getting tired, and you've basically made everyone's brains explode. So now we have a lot to think about. But thanks a bunch. Let's schedule a follow-up for next week.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure do. Awesome.
Okay.
See you. Bye, guys.
See you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
It was lovely.